Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan, a medically qualified doctor and a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. Today's video is one I'm so excited about. I myself am in my 40s and we are going to be discussing everything for your hair and your skin that changes from your 30s to your 40s, including actives that you want to be using, professional grade treatments that are now available to you, and what's really happening to your skin. So starting off with your forehead, fine lines and wrinkles start to develop because of repeated facial movements. The skin around the eye is thinner and it's delicate. It makes it prone to crow's feet, especially from smiling a lot. You get under eye bags and dark circles tend to get a little bit worse. You also get reduced skin elasticity and fat loss in this area. So the face starts to sag slightly. The smile lines, this is the other big one. And especially if you're someone like me, you're smiling a lot and you have big teeth, these become more prominent and they become deeper, again due to repetitive movements and loss of skin firmness. And no, we're not going to just stop smiling. I've tried that. I just became miserable. So no, we have to just figure out what to do here. Then with the cheeks, you get loss of volume, and that's where the sagging occurs. So these fat pads become less. So if you look at photos of yourself in your 20s, then in your 40s, you're going to notice your cheeks were slightly more volume and slightly higher up and a little bit more lifted. And the reason is once you start to lose these fat pads, the skin starts to sag, and actually everything then starts to sag. So fat is definitely something we love in our faces. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. Moving on to the jawline and the neck. So we get reduced collagen and elastin. And this can basically result in sagging skin and jowls, and often a less defined jawline. So if you see a defined jawline, it tends to be kind of a sign of youth. This becomes less defined with age. And also the big one is the neck. The neck gives it away. We tend to get wrinkling and sagging on our neck before even our faces, because guess what? When we do our skincare, we're doing everything for our face, we tend to forget that the neck and the face should be done simultaneously. Really, it should be the face, the neck, right down to the chest, should all be done when you are doing your skincare routine. And lastly, it is the chin. So these are the marionette lines which run from the corners of the mouth down towards the chin, which become more noticeable due to, again, loss of skin elasticity and volume. So basically, in your 30s, we focus on prevention, introducing antioxidants, lightweight hydration, and sunscreen. But in your 40s, it's all about repair and maintenance as your skin's natural processes slow down. So a common myth I hear is, number one, aging is all about genetics. The truth is, lifestyle and environmental factors such as diet, sun exposure, and stress contribute to 70% of visible aging. That's good news. It's something that we can do something about. The second myth I've heard is, if I didn't start early, it's too late. False. It's never too late to start. Your 40s are a great time to adopt targeted skincare. So what actually is happening to your skin and your hair in your 40s, and how is it different to your 30s? Number one, collagen and elastin decline. Collagen provides structure and firmness, while elastin allows your skin to snap back. In your 30s, collagen production decreases by about 1% per year. But by your 40s, the decline accelerates due to hormonal changes, particularly a decline of estrogen levels. Estrogen supports fibroblasts, the cells responsible for producing collagen and elastin. Now, in your 30s, you might notice the first fine lines around your eyes, your forehead, and your mouth. These are early signs of reduced collagen and elastin production, often due to smiling a lot and moving your face, different facial expressions. By the time you hit your mid-30s, you've lost about 10% of your skin's collagen. In your 40s, those early lines may deepen and spread. They become more pronounced across your face and neck. And by the age of 40, women have lost about 20% of their collagen. So this is about a fifth of their collagen. It's quite a significant amount. In addition, by this point, you've had significant cumulative sun exposure. And this again makes the situation worse. So you've got deeper wrinkles, which can be tackled with stronger retinoids. Those are vitamin A, with peptides, and also with professional treatments, which we will discuss. Later in this video, I'll also give you evidence-based solutions to each change along with your step-by-step routine to maximize your outcomes. It's the same routine I do as a 41-year-old to boost collagen and elastin production. So the key actives to introduce are these. Write this down or screenshot it. Topically, you want retinol. Remember, 0.1% is good for us. 0.3 is the maximum we can use in the EU or in the UK. And retinaldehyde is my favorite form of vitamin A. So retinaldehyde works 10 times faster than retinol, but with zero irritation. Plus, you want peptides. They're fantastic. You want vitamin C. So tetrahexyl decalscorbate is one of my favorites. Plus you want stem cells. So here we've got our antioxidant power serum, which I made for my skin and then for you guys. So this is 0.1% retinol, 0.1% retinaldehyde. Remember, it works 10 times faster than retinol with zero irritation. Tetrahexyl decaloscorbate. So that's your vitamin C, but the fat soluble kind. So it goes into the skin to stimulate collagen. It's the only form of vitamin C that can do that. And then coenzyme Q10. Plus we put this in an airless pump. So when there's an airless pump, you've got a little hole at the bottom that tells you it's airless. And why it's important is because your retinol, your retinaldehyde, your vitamin C are all antioxidants. They oxidize in oxygen. So if you have a retinol in a pipette, that's a problem because you have oxygen around the product. It makes the product ineffective. So that's really why I made this. And if you're already enjoying it, can you write down below? I love the antioxidant power serum. So I know how many of you are actually using our products. Now, for the eye area, you want to add in DNA repair enzymes. The reason I love this is because by this point, we don't just want to protect, we want to repair. And so in here, I put in your alpha-arbutin and tranexamic acid, which actually helps with fine lines. We put in caffeine, which helps with puffiness. I put in your retinol and your retinol, which is going to help with your collagen stimulation, which you want for under the eye area. And of course, I've put in your peptides. So this is what it looks like. If you're getting fine lines, this is often where fine lines start, then this is the first product you want in your arsenal. I'll show you what it looks like. It rubs in so easily. That's really important. It feels quite fatty because we lose the fats under the eyes as we age too. Now, if you're like me and you love makeup, but you've noticed that your concealers are creasing under your eyes every time you laugh, which is what happened to me really from my mid-30s onwards, I created the world's first concealers that are actually skincare. So in these concealers, I have added your DNA repairing ingredients. I've put in your vitamin C, I've put in your ceramides, which we lose with age, but we also have less ceramides in our skin than Caucasian skin, which is why the skin tends to look duller and drier quicker. I've put in blue light protection and it's fragrance free, it's nail safe, and basically it just blends so easily into the eye. It helps to repair the barrier, but it doesn't also sit in the creases, making fine lines look worse. So for me, I am actually a medium pink color. I'm wearing medium pink today. And the reason is that if you have slight dark circles or any sort of discoloration under the eyes, this helps to brighten up because the pink becomes a color corrector. So you can see how easily it literally just melts into the finger like butter. And that's really important. And that's what it looks like. Now, when it comes to internal, you want to be drinking about 8 grams of marine collagen daily, plus your vitamin C, and if you have skin of color, you want your vitamin D. So I made it for you. This is the collagen boost. It's got your 8 grams of marine collagen. Now, the thing about marine collagen is it has higher bioavailability than bovine. So even though you can drink bone broth, which is very good for you, you're going to have higher bioavailability with marine, but marine is more expensive, so it's something to note. In addition, skin of color have less ceramides than Caucasian skin, as you already know. This leads to dry skin, and this is why I added in hyaluronic acid. This increased amount of water binding to glucosaminoglycans, leading to improved skin hydration. Number 2, when people with skin of color live in colder environments, they are more likely to suffer with low vitamin D, and also going to benefit from consuming vitamin D. And this will help with mood and with joints. This is one of the reasons that if you have skin of color, you live in a cold country, your joints tend to ache, and it tends to get worse with age. Make sure you are taking your vitamin D, even if it's not in this. Hyperpigmentation is one of our greatest skincare issues, and copper is a great ingredient to even out skin tone and to improve hair pigmentation as well. And the fourth thing, which I considered before we made Collagen Boost, is as skin of color can react to ascorbic acid on the skin during the day, oral antioxidants, for example, vitamin C, is an effective way to mop up damaging free radicals without irritating the skin. With all that in mind, I basically made a Collagen Boost for you, and it's become basically one of the best sellers, I think, on the website for that reason. So go and have a quick look at the reviews on this. So if you ever see me drinking from this bottle, this is what I'm drinking. Number 2, slower cell turnover. The epidermis renews itself every 28 to 40 days in your 20s, but this process slows to 40 to 50 days in your 40s. The result is dullness, uneven texture, and slower healing from breakouts. This is why the right chemical exfoliant is important. Using the wrong exfoliator, i.e. a physical scrub or a glycolic acid, can lead to hyperpigmentation and even more dull skin over time with the damaged skin barrier. So what you want to look for in your exfoliator is mandelic acid plus lactic acid in a fragrance-free formula. That really is like such a beautiful combination. Both are AHAs, but neither is irritating in it. In fact, they hydrate the skin. So there's some good ones on the market, and I made a whole video dedicated to the best chemical exfoliator options. We also made Exfoliate to Glow for you. So this is 5% mandelic acid plus 5% lactic acid plus 7% glycerin. And that's what it looks like. So it comes out very gel-like, and you just gently rub it on the skin, leave it on for about 15-20 minutes, then rinse it off. You would do this, I would do this, for example, the day before I'm going to film to make sure that my makeup goes on smooth. Or if you have a big wedding day or a big event the following day, I would do this to brighten your skin immediately. You will notice as soon as you wash it off with cold water after 20 minutes, your whole face will look brighter, because those dull, dead skin cells, basically, when you get to 40, because the cell turnover is so slow, they start to compact at the top. And once they compact, there's no water molecules in between. And so they're a little bit jaggedy at the top. And when light hits it, it scatters in all different directions. What this does is chemical exfoliators, it literally takes off that top layer, and you have these young, plump, juicy skin cells underneath with lots of water molecules in between. And when the light hits it, it literally reflects evenly, and you get that immediate glow. In addition, any hyperpigmentation also is reduced, because when that pigmentation is stuck in those skin cells at the top. And the reason why we prefer chemical exfoliator over physical is that chemical exfoliator will only reduce dead skin cells. It won't touch your living skin cells. A physical scrub can literally remove your living skin cells, which then damage the skin barrier. Have you guys ever noticed when you scrub really hard on the skin with a scrub and your face feels red and raw? That should never, ever happen. That means that living skin cells have been removed and stripped away from the face. Now, the other reason I added in glycerin is because what we want to do really is to ensure we've got water molecules at the top layer of skin. And so when the acids go in and they take off that top layer, you want the glycerin to seep in and to hold water molecules on the surface so that you have that glow and you have that plump. You also want to be using a very rich moisturizer in your 40s, because already your skin is slightly drier. And so the key actives you want to look for are ceramides and peptides, because what they do is something very important, something we don't talk about. It leads to something called micro exfoliation, which you can do daily with no irritation. So if you notice that when you basically moisturize your hand, so here's our Cera-Pep Brightening Moisturizer. I'm going to show it to you now. This is what it looks like. In here, obviously ceramides, peptides, but also for us, I put in licorice root extract because it brightens the skin. I've also put in stem cells, which are anti-aging and also help with pigmentation. So what you notice is when you basically wear a fatty moisturizer on the skin, it will help to dissolve the dead skin cells from the top, and you get an immediate glow on the skin. This is very relaxing to the skin. It's anti-inflammatory, but you are micro exfoliating. And the reason you know this is if you don't moisturize your legs, for example, in the winter, have you noticed maybe 1 or 2 weeks in, you haven't moisturized and the skin is looking a bit flaky, a bit dull? That flakiness has happened because you haven't moisturized. When you moisturize, those flakes disappear. And so you're micro exfoliating, and you can do this daily. And this is really important in your 40s. If you're using the wrong moisturizer in your 40s, your face is going to look dull every day until you do the full chemical exfoliation. And that's not what we want, right? We want to do the full chemical exfoliation the day before an important event, but really want to look bright and glowing and plump every day. And you do that with the right moisturizer. Next are pigmentation changes. In your 30s, dark spots and uneven pigmentation may appear due to sun exposure or hormonal changes. Daily use of your SPF 50 anti-rosinase inhibitors can keep these issues at bay. So in your 40s, hyperpigmentation becomes more stubborn and more widespread, affecting up to 60% of women. The reason is the melanocytes, the cells responsible for producing the pigment melanin, become less evenly distributed with age. So if if they start to clump in one area more than another area, you tend to get age spots. And this is what you see on the surface. You also tend to get an uneven skin tone. Have you noticed this with age? When you were younger, your skin tone was the same. And as you go through puberty and then you get older, you go through your 30s and 40s, skin tone becomes more and more uneven. You'll find it's a different skin tone around your mouth area, to around your cheeks, to around your eyes, to around your forehead. And that's one of the reasons. And this is why it's important to have tyrosinase inhibitors in your entire skincare routine, really from your 30s and 40s onwards. So skin of color is also especially prone to PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. As you guys know, I always say one scratch, one bite, or one burn, and we hyperpigment. And so because of this, we have to be very careful with our skin. So this is why even when we pick the tyrosinase inhibitors, it's important that we pick the most effective, but also the ones that are not going to irritate the skin. So for example, if you're going to pick a vitamin A, you're going to pick retinaldehyde with encapsulated retinol versus a fully retinol serum if you've got skin of color. If you're going to pick a vitamin C, you're not going to pick L-ascorbic acid, which is essentially a chemical exfoliator and with a low pH that can irritate the skin. You're going to pick sodium ascorbate phosphate, or you're going to pick tetrahexyl decaloscorbate. So vitamin C derivatives that are very effective, but with no irritation. The other tyrosinase inhibitor that I love is green tea extract. We really all should be using it because it itself is anti-inflammatory. The other big ones to look for are niacinamide, licorice root extract as well. So you can have these ingredients really at any part of your routine. It could be, for example, in your hydrating toner or your fragrance-free toner, you could have your niacinamide and green tea extract, which is what we've done here. Or you could have, for example, in your serum, you could have your green tea extract, your antioxidants, your vitamin C. Here we've got your retinol and your retinaldehyde. Or it could be in your moisturiser where you have your niacinamide and your licorice root extract. So it could literally be at any part of your skincare routine. It doesn't have to just be in the serum. If you're full on melasma and you've tried everything, you've tried the 2% alpha arbutin from The Ordinary, which is what I recommend is your first line treatment, then you can upgrade to our facial hyperpigmentation kit with 10 tyrosinase inhibitors at the correct percentages formulated for skin of color. It's the strongest kit right now available on the market over the counter. And the reason is that actually tyrosinase inhibitors combined together are very expensive. And it's a very niche market that would even want it. It really is us. It's our skin of color family who have melasma. But like I said, this is not a cheap product. This is an expensive product. It's not your first line product. Start with 2% alpha arbutin. Then you can try tranexamic acid. If that doesn't work, then you have something you can upgrade to. With the facial pigmentation kit, it takes time because it's likely your pigmentation is resistant if nothing else has worked. So I tend to say 2 kits, you start to see your results at 6 months, but your best results you're going to see at the 12-month mark. Be really good with your SPF 50. Go for one that has no white cast because it means you're actually going to use it. I actually made a mineral SPF 50 for you because mineral sunscreens are better if you have melasma because they're anti-inflammatory. Zinc oxide itself is anti-inflammatory. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the skin. So it's formulated for darker skin tones, and it's probably one of the hardest products I've ever formulated. So it gives you a bit of a dewy finish, I would say. Sometimes, I'm wearing it right now under my makeup. I would then often powder down my nose area and the T-zone area, but I kind of like the dewy cheeks. But yeah, everyone has their own way of wearing their Inzincable. In here, I added a few little treats for you as well. So I've obviously got your niacinamide. I put in stem cells as well, plus your blue light protection. Number 4 is barrier weakening. So the stuff you could basically get away with in your 20s, you can't get away with in your 40s. You know, you could get away with scrubbing the face. You can get away with going to bed with your makeup on. There's so much more you could get away with that actually now we have the lipid layer is less effective. So we don't have the protection that we had before. And so what happens is you have moisture loss and increased skin sensitivity. This is why your skin tends to feel drier in your 40s compared to your 20s. The loss of lipids also makes the skin look duller. You have less glow. And this is why ceramides and peptides are essential in your 40s. You may also want to top, so say for example, you are using the Cera-Pep Brightening Moisturiser, you may also want to top it with your 100% squalane. So I really like the one, for example, from The Ordinary is great to use. Minimalist has a good one. 100% squalane to use on top at night is also going to help to trap fats. So basically almost create a second layer of skin and trap, water in the skin and allow the skin to feel more hydrated the next day. Number 5 is something I hate, and it is glycation. Sugar molecules bind to collagen and elastin, making them stiff and less elastic, a process called glycation. Now, this basically accelerates sagging and dullness. This is why we need to move away from sugars in our 40s and ensure we're getting enough protein in our diet. You want to aim for about the same number of grams of protein to match your weight in kg. So for example, I weigh 50 kg, I aim for 50 grams of protein daily. Next thing that happens is loss of firmness and sagging. In your 30s, the slight sagging around your jawline and cheeks starts to show as collagen and elastin production decreases. In your 40s, sagging becomes more pronounced with loss of firmness around here and elastin depletion, as well as loss of fat and bone density. So yes, you want your peptides, you want your retinol, and professional treatments can kick in. So for example, oil therapy and radio frequency can help combat these signs. And now let's discuss something that affects us probably more than our skin, and that is our hair changes. But before I do, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm so happy. But what I noticed was 90% of people who watch this channel have not subscribed yet. So please could do me this huge favor. I will be so grateful, and it'd be incredible to get to 2 million. Why not? Life is like short. Let's make this happen. So I'm counting on you to hit that bell for me. And also you can come and ask me your skincare questions the first hour that we launch every YouTube video. So, reduced hair density. So first of all, you get a bit of hair thinning. In your 30s, you are going to see a visible change. You might notice a reduction in hair density with hair feeling thinner and less voluminous. 40% of women experience noticeable hair thinning by their mid-30s. So the treatment options at home would be minoxidil, so that's Rogaine, to stimulate hair growth. The success rates are about 40% of women see improvement with consistent use. Professionally, you can use PRP, platelet-rich plasma therapy. The success rates can result from 30 to 50% increase in hair density. You just don't want to overdo it because you don't want any scarring of the scalp. Moving on to diet and supplements. Ensure you take biotin, silica, zinc, and iron. Iron is really important. A lot of women who are vegetarian and still menstruating become iron deficient, and that affects not just your energy, it also affects your skin and your hair. So nutritional improvement can enhance hair by up to 30%. So it's important to also get blood tests to make sure you're not anemic. In your 40s, the visible change becomes worse. It becomes worse particularly around the crown and the temples. So the pathology is, by the time you're in your 40s, the hair growth cycle, so that's anagen, catagen, telogen, shortens due to reduced activity in the hair follicle. Hair spends less time in the growth phase, in the anagen phase, and more time in the resting phase, the telogen phase, leading to thinning. So DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, a hormone, plays a role in shrinking the hair follicle, contributing to androgenic alopecia in some women. Plus, you've got declining estrogen, you've got genetics, and then we also have stress on top. So over 50% of women experience significant hair thinning by their late 40s. Your treatment options at home would start off with Rogaine, so consistent use again. So second thing I'd say is at home is your microneedling with 0.2 millimeters, plus your Anagen Boost Tonic. So remember we talked about the Anagen phase being the growth phase and you're in it for a shorter amount of time as you age. Anagen Boost will keep you in the growth phase for longer, and that's how my hair has grown so long. I bet this is basically what I do every week. I derma roll at the scalp. I'll make you a whole video. If you want me to actually make you a video specifically on microneedling my own scalp, I will do it for you. I tend to do it once a week, once every other week, and I will spray this. And what this does is once you microneedle, two things have happened. Number one, you have more blood flow to your hair follicles, which is needed for more nutrients, internal nutrients to reach the follicle for healthy hair growth. But the second thing is you're creating channels in order to get the Anagen Boost Tonic to the follicle as well, to keep the hair in the growth phase for longer. So it's basically a double prong attack. So in this, I basically put in your peptides, niacinamide, anti-inflammatories, and calcium gluconate to create a healing environment. I've also added in Copixel, which is a biomimetic peptide working on DHT modulation to keep hair in the growth phase. This combination didn't exist, which is why I made it for you. In addition, it's water-based, so if you have dandruff, it's not going to worsen it. So the way you use it, people ask is, Dr. V, do I do this before or after washing my hair? You do it after washing your hair when your scalp is clean. What you do is you wash your hair and then you will part your hair into sections. So as you part your hair, you will then take your microneedle, which is 0.2 millimeters, and you'll go in 4 directions. You'll go forward and back, you'll go side to side, and then you'll also go diagonally. You'll then spray your Anagen Boost Tonic directly, and you move on to the next section. On this day, let your hair dry in a microfiber towel. Don't blow dry your scalp. You don't want any heat on the scalp. I would repeat this every 2 weeks for 3 months to see results. The annoying thing about this are the baby hairs. If you see me on Instagram, you will see my little baby hairs popping in, and I'm constantly trying to push them back because they are annoying. But that is the downside, and if you can handle it, then it's worth it. Another top tip is your diet. Make sure more than ever you're getting these vitamins and minerals. Vitamin A, C, D, E and B complex, as well as iron, zinc, and omega-3 fats. You can get this from your diet, but just make sure you are actually visually looking at what you're taking and making sure you have enough of everything. If you're taking your collagen boost, most of this is going to be in your collagen boost anyway, but diet is more important than any supplements you use afterwards. The next thing is scalp care. So the skin on the scalp is as important to hair growth as, for example, the skin on your face is to how you look and how you feel about yourself. So don't forget the health of the scalp. If your scalp is itchy, it's not going to lead to good hair growth. You need to tackle the dandruff. Use your ketoconazole shampoo. A couple of things that you can do to ensure you have good health of the scalp is regularly massage to improve blood flow and blood circulation. You get less blood flow to your skin and to your scalp as we age. That's number one. Number two is avoid heat and chemicals on the scalp. So you want to reduce the amount of blow drying directly to the scalp or any chemicals that might relax the hair that can also burn the scalp, because that's going to shorten your growth phase. The next one is really important, and we've all been through it, and it is your stress levels. High stress levels will negatively impact your hair growth. I know that every time I ever sat an exam, my hair would be falling out, I can't breathe, and I feel like I might not survive the night. So I'm sure many of you have gone through the same thing. Stress is a nightmare on the body. For example, if you have eczema, your stress is going to worsen your eczema. If you have acne, stress is going to worsen your acne. If you have psoriasis, stress is going to worsen your psoriasis. If your skin is aging, stress is going to prematurely age your skin. Stress is the worst thing for your hair, your nails, your body. And so it's something that I feel is a skill. And honestly, it's only in my 40s I'm learning to deal with stress in a better way. Things like, well, I'm not very good at yoga, but meditation has become a key part of my life, and I do it 3 times a day, plus other relaxation techniques. So whatever it is, however you manage to get to your peace and you feel calm, that's actually going to have a big impact on your hair and your skin. The next one is one our mums and dads told us about, but we didn't listen, and that is sleep. Sleep is essential for hair growth. So getting enough sleep is, again, something has become my 2025 New Year's resolution. 2025 New Year's resolution. So I am going to sleep 8 hours a night regardless. And so now I actually have a whole bedtime routine. You know, usually as a mum, the bedtime routine is about my children and what they need and reading them a story and making sure they're all good. And then I just sort of like try and, you know, there's no routine for me. But now we have a whole routine where I put my phone away and I turn the lights down low 2 hours before bed, and I watch some comedy, and then I listen to my meditation, and then I, you know, slowly go to sleep and actually practice that skill of going to sleep. I think definitely when you're stressed and, you know, if you're struggling with work or other issues, sleep becomes really difficult and you can't actually handle anything if you haven't slept properly. Then the stress becomes worse, it becomes compounded. So sleep is something that's in your control. I wish I'd known that earlier. It's something I'm trying to teach my kids so they don't get to, you know, 40 before they realize how important this is. But I really had no impact. I had no idea how important it was for hair growth as well. The next one I was inadvertently doing by accident, and I only realized later on when I started researching the scalp how important it was, and that is to protect your hair using caps. So I love caps just because I just love caps. I feel like, especially in the UK, my head's usually cold and it's just a good way to retain heat. But apparently it's also very good for hair growth, because what happens is you literally have a physical barrier between UV rays and your scalp. And so there's less sun exposure, less free radicals, damaging your skin and you're protecting your scalp from environmental damage. So wearing caps is a very good thing. Just make sure it's not too tight that you're getting traction, but a loose cap is really good for you. Moving on to your shampoo and conditioner, you want hydrating formulas and look for scalp soothing ingredients like salicylic acid for flakiness, but also fragrance free, and that's quite difficult to find. Most shampoos are heavily fragranced and they irritate the skin on the scalp, and so how are you then going to grow long hair? So we don't want fragrance in our shampoos. That's why in my hair thickening shampoo I made sure there was no fragrance, even though my brother was not happy when I gave it to my sister-in-law because my sister-in-law's hair didn't smell beautiful like flowers, which is what he expected. I said yes, but her hair's going to grow long, and he wasn't impressed. But anyway, I think if you're looking for longer hair growth, this is what you need to do, is to avoid the fragrance in your shampoo. The next one you might not be doing, but if you're not, you need to jump onto this trend now. This is one that's good for you, and these are your weekly treatment masks. This basically strengthens your brittle strands. So after I wash my hair, I use our leave-in conditioner, for example, and I use it literally just from our mid strands right to the end, so I don't get any split ends. Split ends are the things that basically then have to be chopped off, and then how are you going to grow your hair long? So you want to make sure that you have a mask that basically smooths down the cuticles, and so you don't get that fraying at the ends, which can happen with time. And if that doesn't happen, then there's less cutting that's needed. And that is all part of growing longer hair. So what I do is I apply the mask, I leave it in, and then I wrap my hair in a microfiber towel to allow better absorption, because I've now got occlusion and heat happening. And then you can either let your hair, air dry if you've got highly porous hair, or you can blow dry it roughly. But you don't want to keep your scalp damp for too long, because guess what? Malassezia loves a damp environment, and if you have dandruff, it will worsen. So always blow dry the scalp slightly especially if you have dandruff. Moving on to scalp care. Use serums on the scalp with niacinamide, caffeine, or rosemary oil to stimulate follicles. My question is, do you guys want me to make you a scalp oil for hair growth which doesn't feed Malassezia? Because don't forget, unfortunately, most oils do feed Malassezia, making dandruff worse and making itchy scalps worse. So there are only certain oils that you can combine in order to sort of create your ideal scalp serum oil. So if you want me to do that, can you write down the word yes below, and I'll make sure I do that for you. Next one is protective styling. So you know how you're as children, you can do your Dutch braids and you can do your fish plaits or whatever you want to do. Get really creative. When you get to this age, it's a problem. So like my Sienna's always trying to plait my hair, and I'm like, you can't be doing this to me at 40. We have to have protective styling. So I have, for example, loose ponytails, loose plaits. I will have my parting in different ways so that I'm not always in the same parting, because if that happens, that's also going to lead to traction and you'll start getting bald spots, which you definitely do not want. So your hair just isn't going to be as strong as it was in your 20s. So you can't be as rough with it as you were in your 20s. This also comes down to dyeing your hair as well. If you're bleaching your hair, it's not going to grow as long as it might have done in your 20s for this reason. And it's important that we know this, because if we understand this, then we can take care of our hair, in a more loving way, which is what we need in our 40s. Moving on to graying, and my WhatsApp chats with my mummy friends are, a lot of it is really about graying hair and dyeing our hair and why are 2 gray hairs now in the place of 1 black hair. So let's talk about it. In your 30s, gray hair begins to make an appearance, usually at the temples due to decreased melanin production. Now in your 40s, graying becomes more widespread, with over 50% of women having significant gray hair. So gentle hair dyes and root touch-ups can help to manage the aesthetic changes. What's really happening is that the melanocytes in the hair follicles stop producing melanin, resulting in gray or white hair. Genetics plus oxidative stress, that's basically irritation from the environment, can be from smoke, from pollution, and also from stress, influence the timing of the process, so when it happens. Using antioxidants on the scalp can help, which is why I added retinol palmitate and vitamin E to our hair thickening shampoo. I literally made it for me. So my mom and dad both turned gray at 21 years old. I was destined to be grey. And this was one of the reasons I've been doing antioxidants on my scalp longer than I've been doing it on my face, specifically for this reason. And it's good to know I basically only get a few grey hairs every now and then. I dye my hair every 12 weeks. So it just didn't happen to me. I also think that back then, you know, immigrants had a lot more stress. We don't have the level of stress that they had. So I think that also plays a big part of it. Moving on to dry scalp and hair. So sebaceous gland activity declines. This reduces the amount of oil, which makes the hair and the scalp drier. Now, oiling the scalp with squalane is ideal. Avoid any heavy oils, for example, coconut oil, which leads to multiple washes. And every time you wash your hair, your water basically makes your hair more fragile. So we don't want to do this too often. Also, avoid fragrance or essential oils directly on the scalp, as they can sensitize the skin and lead to reactions. The only caveat I would say is rosemary oil. Rosemary oil is an essential oil, but if it's diluted correctly, it has been clinically proven to increase hair growth. Please don't try and dilute this yourself. You will not get the measurements right. The distribution in the oil is not going to be right because it has to be done professionally. So this is not something to DIY because your scalp is too important to mess around with in a DIY situation. So now you know what to do in your 40s. Watch how to treat your fine lines, dark circles, and puffy skin around the eyes.